today, and as well as what you're going to be doing after you go to the next step. So anything that you think can be relevant to define the kind of designer you are should be included in any SOP. So do not exceed the word limit though, because they have specified a particular word limit. Is it 100 words for each question?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So don't go over 100 words. Earlier, they used to give only 50 words like for this. So now you're looking at way more word count also. So now you can go on and talk about it in detail. So just go on and whatever course you're applying to, focus on that, especially in the second question. So talk about the relevance of that particular course to your career goals. Like if I want to do be this person, if I want to be like an animator, then this is going to help me be an animator or something like that. So, but that is a very basic statement that I'm saying. But don't talk about things in, so a common tendency of people to do is like what they will do is they'll write something like, I want to be a successful designer in future. Now that is very generic. So generic things are totally to be avoided, because when you're talking about this particular essay, they're asking you a statement about who you are, what are you doing right now, plus what do you want to do in future, which you think this course will help you to. So if you're defining these three things properly, then more than that, you do not need to add any information. So you shouldn't go in detail about your family or about maybe your academic background. Also, you shouldn't like talk about it too much if you do not have any experience which is relevant to this particular course. So you can talk about them a little, but again, we're going to focus on more things which this question, this particular SOP is asking you to do. So think of maybe first part as what you'll put in your CV. So in your CV, you will have to define things like what are your hobbies sometimes, and then like what are your different interests and what are the skills that you've gained, and through those skills have you had any experience that you have. So maybe like a personal project can also be mentioned over here if you don't have professional experience. And then finally, about what do you see yourself as doing. So in a resume, what you do is the first thing is that you define as, this is the kind of designer I am, and this is the kind of work that I want to do. So this is exactly that particular format, but a little jumbled up. So now the second one that you're looking at is, why do you want to pursue further postgraduate studies in specific discipline you have applied for NID? So now if we talk about NID, all of the courses that it offers, different courses like industrial design is there, and then graphic design is there. And depending on the course that you're applying to, retail, or anything that you're thinking of applying to, there you have to think of what experience, even in the work that probably you might have done for someone that you are not counting as your professional experience could be mentioned, because there you tackled a more important problem. So utilitarianism is also another thing that you should focus on. So if you work on projects which have a utility or are solving a problem, then that should definitely be mentioned. Because as a designer, what you're constantly trying to achieve is be a better problem solver. To be a better designer, you need to understand these different aspects of design, and to satisfy the client or the customer as well. So list out your skills, list out your credentials, list out your awards when it comes to your achievements. Then when it comes to the support of your passion or interest, what you've done. So you can even talk about if you do dancing. So dancing can be mentioned over here, like if you're into particular explorations of maybe a different art style, then you can talk about that. And you can talk about different interests that you have developed in recent years mainly. Don't talk about something which has come from like when you were very young, because that is not relevant. Like when you were 3 or when you were 4, that's not when you're thinking about things like this. So today I was discussing with one of the students, and then she was also saying the same thing. Like when you talk about that in your portfolios about me also, that is irrelevant, because at 4 nobody becomes a designer. So think about something that has come, like that is more recent when you're mentioning all of these achievements also. And if you have something in art, then those achievements could also be mentioned. But then again, art is not that relevant. Design is the main focus. Then if you have done any research or if you've done any academic study, you can mention that also in case of like lack of much professional experience. Then apart from that, how much time did you work when you're mentioning the professional experience? So how much time did you work, and all of that could tell, like talk about like what you've achieved. There you can talk about even in professional world what you have achieved. So that particular fact mentioned, like maybe like you worked in a particular organization and you changed their process, or maybe like you're working with a particular set designer for one of their sets, and anything that is related also to this particular field would be relevant in this particular piece of statement. So what this is a personal essay with your academic information, with your professional information. So it's not like a story that you're building from scratch. It's a story that you know about already because you're writing about yourself and not about someone who's new. So always a good suggestion is welcome from someone else's point of view, but think about it properly, whether that particular skill you have, or like you are only writing it or thinking about writing it because other people are saying that you might have that. So this is more like making a statement that will be relevant to them when they are looking at you in your personal interview as well. So there they're going to judge you for all of this that you've written. So don't write things which are made up. Don't make anybody else write it for you. You can do a simpler thing, like maybe if your language is lacking in some sort of way, then you can go through like versions of it. So you can send it to me, I'll help you edit this, or you can send it to someone who's good at speaking or writing English and you can take their help also. But the initial words, the initial draft has to be yours. Then also like you need to like identify yourself as someone who's individualistic or someone who's different at times. So if there is something that is unique, so some unique information about your personality, some unique information about what you do, so that would be relevant if you're mentioning it a little. So maybe in a line you can mention that. So for standing out, do not do extra antics. But if you're mentioning like some special skill that you gained through maybe working in particular area, or maybe a particular game or a particular what like experience also. So maybe you were traveling, then you saw that particular thing, or like you saw a system that impressed you a lot. So even that could be relevant. So something that changed you or something that was a turning point in your design journey, that is a relevant thing to mention as well. You're not trying to make it sound complex, so do not use like super heavy words, or like don't try to uh, like maybe So don't look in dictionary for heavier synonyms, antonyms, or anything like that. Try to stick to simpler language, but avoid things like writing too much I, or not making small sentences. So if you're making longer sentences, if you're not putting like the good amount of pauses in spaces, then what is happening over here is like when the person is reading that information, they won't be able to attain much from it. They won't be able to understand the emotion it is written in. So you are also expressing yourself visually, or like rather to other sensory organs also when you're writing a piece, because when a person reads it, they also understand the sentiment it has been written in. So it shouldn't be written as a boasting statement of purpose. It should be written as like a professional statement that you are giving them, or telling them that this is what I want to do, and I think this course can help me in this certain way, and these are my past experiences that I had, or this is how I have evolved as a designer. So you're presenting these things to them and not giving any other information. So these three questions should be the main focus that of your entire portfolio. Sorry, of your entire SOP. And when it comes to the portfolio, again, the translation of all of this SOP that you've written is going to be in form of your graphics or in form of the artworks that you're putting. So again, SOP is sort of like a reflection that you're giving to them of your portfolio. These two are not going to be something which is very separate or away from each other, but this is going to be more specific towards what you've done so far. So there are not like some things that you can mention through your portfolio. So these things can come into your SOP, but it's still a part of that story that you're giving to them through your portfolio. So think of these two things as combining or part of a set rather than things which are disconnected. So if they are looking at one particular statement of purpose and they are going through it, they don't find any particular aesthetic this person is mentioning, or they cannot have a particular image of this person in their head before they come to the portfolio, then that will create a space of disconnect, and you don't want to do that. So what you want to give them is a cohesive, like a full image, or like a story which is coming together. So how much you worked or where you worked could be mentioned at times if it's relevant, if you think it's important. Then what kind of skills are you looking to hone when you come to NID could also be the skills that you started gaining when you started working in your career. So if that is the case, then mention it like that. Then if there is any project that you did which is directly related to the particular stream or any of the modules that you have in this particular course that you're approaching, then you can relate it to that. So it's also sort of like a place where your researching skill is also getting judged a little. So do research about the course, do research about your own self before you start writing this piece. So do write some pointers about your personality, some pointers about what you've done so far, like, and the skills that you've achieved. So sort of make a resume for yourself if you don't have one. And then from that resume, you can pick out things that you can add into the first question mainly, and this third question. And for the middle question, you'll have to think about the stream, the research about the particular college or about alumni or about all of um, the work that you expect the people who are working in these different modules can come out from. Because it's not necessary if you're going to this particular course, you're going to be one particular thing only or one particular field only that will lead you to. You might have multiple options and your option can be very different than someone else. So if you're able to define that niche, that will be very good. So in defining that career goal or objective, think as niched as possible, so you might not be able to like pinpoint exactly, but you can sort of pinpoint to the kind of industry you see yourself going into afterwards. If you want, you can have like an anecdote or a story when you're talking about yourself, like a brief description about yourself. Then you can like probably tell them through that particular experience that this is my personality overall, like that. Or even if like so if you want to add a quote or anything like that, those creative things you can do when you're going to the portfolio and talking about me. So there, that is the introduction of the entire portfolio. So there probably you could write quotes or anything that is more relevant to your personality, anything from a piece or like an artwork that describes your personality. But here you should refrain from a quote. Probably if you need, you can add like a tiny story or an act, like a one line story or anything funny. So a funny anecdote. Also, do not use too many complex ideas in one line. So when you talk about something connected, then it makes sense. If you're talking about two or three different ideas in one particular line, that gets confusing. So, for example, imagine you're talking about how you love to solve problems and come up with designer solutions, design solutions for all of these things. So in your particular way, or you talk about how you like to draw all the time and you like doodling or observing different people's expressions and you like to draw that. So you're talking about drawing or painting at this time, and all of a sudden after this you put a comma and then you add something like swimming and full stop. So that is going to be like totally clashing and confusing. So do not mention like two different ideas in one line if you think they are too clashing. Maybe something like which is more related. So maybe your interest in art led you to your interest in design. So talk about more relatable things in one particular area. But when it comes to hobbies, you can mention like different kind of hobbies in one line. That is okay because you're talking about a varied array of things over there. Those are just interests you dabble in most of the times. Hmm. And again, the main thing that is there about this particular SOP is write it yourself, and like at least one draft you should write, and then you should start thinking of taking help, because that is going to give you more defined version of who you are. And because like you all got great ranks and you are at this particular stage, so I think you should have like a particular amount of understanding or skill which is required for this particular course. So you shouldn't worry about that and leave that to others to judge. So right now, what you should do is focus and prepare and write this like you're writing an essay about your experiences, about your career, or and about your professional experience as well. So all of those things, if you mention and you put in a little research about how what you've done is relevant to the course you're applying to, or what skills can you gain in order to achieve your goal. If you're doing that, then you're good with the SEO. Be authentic. Don't try to like say things that you are not or you're not sure of, because those things can be verified. They might ask you questions related to it. And if you are lacking at it, it won't reflect nicely onto you. So that is all about SOP. Let's quickly come to the portfolio part of things and talk about how to start the portfolio if you've never made a portfolio. But if you have made a portfolio earlier, you have at least a basic layout of it from applying to another college or you, because some of you must have been doing that. So may I ask, do all of you have portfolios already?
I don't have one actually. I'm a CS kid, so I haven't really
Okay.
into that.
Yeah, ma'am, same here. I don't have to.
All right. But do you have any design related work, anything?
Yeah,
What about you?
Um, I don't think so.
No problem, no problem. We'll work on that. So, what we can do is we can work on a couple, not a couple, one project probably for both of you if you don't have a portfolio. And rest of the things you can put in are maybe the artworks that you've done or the design questions that you solved when you were preparing for the exam. So you must have made things like posters, you must have done things like storyboarding and all of things like character design, mascot design, right? Or even product design.
I didn't do all of that very extensively.
But a little bit must have done, right? Some
Yeah, I guess.
perspective drawing, did you try?
Perspective, yes.
Yeah, so what you can do is put in like those works which you think are the best in those. So what is the course that you're applying to?
Um, I had applied to information and interaction, but I got through for information.
For information.
Yeah.
Oh, then you should like focus more on like your research part or all of those maybe what do you say? Storyboarding, those kinds of questions you've solved?
Like how you present information.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I have. I actually some of my so I've been interning the whole time, and some of my projects it's sort of like a full stack stuff. So I have done UI stuff as well. So I'm not really sure how I should go ahead with it and stuff.
So what you can do is we are going to keep a portfolio session tomorrow. Okay. So in the session tomorrow, you can just run through your work and the things that you think can be put in the portfolio, and I can help you sort through them. And there might be another faculty with us who has passed NID before, and so he'll also help you out and in C. Okay.
All right.
So no
Ma'am,
having that.
yeah, I'm for interior designing. I've applied for. So what should I like? How to
Interior
make?
designing, you should go more towards your perspective drawing and understanding of different uh, maybe forms. So your form generation process should be good too. So anything that where you've shown a little bit of like design process in your work, you can put those kinds of projects.
Okay.
Do you have any right now?
No, I don't have that type of things.
Drawing things or anything?
Yeah, drawing things I have. Yeah.
Okay, so then drawing things you'll put now then. It's no problem. If you don't have any relevant materials related to it, that is also okay because what you'll do is you'll learn about those particular aspects when you go to this particular course. But a basic understanding of different things like perspective and all of that should be there. So which you must have shown in the paper also. So that's okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So for portfolio, number one thing is please make a very simple and relevant background for your portfolio if you are not using a template. Okay. But it's suggested that you make a nice layout. But because of lack of time and some people would be working on the content of it, so you might not have time. So you can use a very simple template for that. But do pay attention to the layouting, how you're placing your text in the portfolio, as well as what kind of text are you using? What is the margin space? Are you able to see the pictures clearly? Are you able to read the text mentioned on any of your work that you're presenting? So these basic aspects should be taken care of first off, and then you should be thinking about different things like number of projects to keep in the portfolio, relevance of each portfolio project to the way they are going to look at you as a person or as a designer. Then, when it comes to a portfolio, again, one part comes where uh, a little bit of this first question of SOP is also involved. So there you have to talk about your personality mainly, But after you're done talking about your personality, then there also you're defining like what you have done so far and how do you see yourself going into this design journey further. So that is again a definition of that aspect of things. So that is more like a personal statement that you're giving. So for your portfolio, if you have started working in it and you want help, then what you have to do is uh, arrange all of your work if you've not arranged any. If you think any artwork is there which you want to add that. If you think any artwork is below average or average for you. So if you think that any artwork is not good, please do not include that in your portfolio. If you think a particular project is lacking in certain aspects and you have other projects that are good enough, then put the good projects. You don't have to put too many projects. So one tendency that people have is putting too much work in the portfolio. What that will do is that will take up a lot of time and that will irritate the person who's taking the interview as well. So keep it crisp, keep it short, give them an idea of who you are as a designer and keep them wanting. So that is the purpose of a good portfolio. What you're doing is you're showing them, okay, these are my skills and this is the kind of work that I do. And I think I can probably put these skills to use when I come into this college and I can hone uh, this particular course's alumni as well. So if needed. So it depends on like what kind of way you're going. If you want to be an academic or you want to be a researcher, so that could be mentioned when it comes to writing about yourself. So one important thing that I would want you to figure out for yourself today when it comes to writing the SOP or it comes to starting the portfolio with that About Me page is who do you want to see yourself as a designer afterwards? So what kind of industry do you see yourself as uh, like when you start working after you're done with this post-graduation? Okay, and then we'll have another session where we can talk about your portfolios once I see them. But as of now, keep the layout simple for the portfolio. Keep your work as the focus. Try to arrange all of the works that you think can be put into your portfolio. We can go over them. We can discuss like which ones to keep, which ones to not keep. But something that you think is not good should never be kept in a portfolio because you want to show them only the best of yours. So even if it makes lesser projects, please don't worry. You can put only the ones which are relevant and nice. You don't have to include things which you think are just not good. Then when it comes to defining how many pages you should give to one particular project. So if you have a lot of projects with a lot of research, you can't put all the projects with all of their research, but you want to show them a variety as well. So what you can do is if you have two similar kinds of projects, you can give details of research and all of those things for one of them. And you can just show them the initial and the final results for the last one. And then you can talk about how the process for that went as well. So it's not going to happen a lot, but if you have a portfolio of that sort, then that could be done. Then when it comes to each project's number of pages, it totally depends on the kind of project that you're doing. So sometimes someone is working on a project wherein like the research part gets a lot because they've done certain surveys also. They've gone on and like collected information from different sources. So when you, and then there is competitor information also they've included, trend analysis they've done, all of those things. When you talk about them as one project, then they'll be like 8-9 pages together. So when you're looking at those 8-9 pages, if you're looking at maybe 10 of those projects, then that will be too much. So instead of doing something like that, what you can do is keep 1 or 2 big projects, keep lesser projects, keep more projects, maybe like 3 projects where you've shown like a little less research part or you just focused on the main product that you've gone with. So think about your projects in that manner, or like if you have a lot of artworks, then one page in your portfolio can be dedicated to the lot of those artworks, except your projects that you have done. Then, apart from that, do edit a lot. So portfolio is not something that you make in one day. So right now, I think you have how many days? 25, 26, 27. You have 3 days, and today is almost done also. So what you should be doing probably is make that portfolio now and then go through it again and again as many times as possible, because what you want to do is see whether it's going into a particular string also. So when I say a particular string, it just means is a continuity. If that particular portfolio is in continuity of an aesthetic, you can go with that. Or there is a story that is sort of binding it together, or you're trying to show your personality through the portfolio. So the first page that will be there, sorry, second page that will be there after the content page, which will be about yourself or the introduction of the portfolio. So in that, you have to mention what can they expect in the portfolio. Start with an introduction of yourself, then you can start directly with what this portfolio is about. If you named your portfolio something, then that could be relevant to what kind of person you are or what kind of work you're presenting in the portfolio. So there you can use things like captions. You can use maybe lines from a poetry you like or a couplet. So depends on your expression style also. We can edit that. Definitely you can take help of anybody also to edit that, but write it yourself first and then get it edited. So now you have to in this portfolio, you're not doing much work because in 2 days, it's not good to take too many projects or any big project. So if you want to do maybe an artwork or a tiny storyboard, that is something that can be done. Or you're thinking of completing something from earlier and putting that in, that is also something that can be done. But right now, do not take up projects which are new to you. Right now, just focus on what you have and presenting that in the best light possible. So if you don't have pictures of a particular product that you made in good lighting and good pictures, then retake them, put them. If there are cropping issues in the images that you put in your portfolio earlier, then do that. Look at the contents, look at each and every word that you're putting in that portfolio. If there are grammatical mistakes, that shows a very lax attitude. So you don't want to do that. Check for spacing, check that there is enough emphasis on areas you want emphasis, and then the eye moves to less important things. So you are going to like place importance on your artworks mainly, and then you're going to go with the text and other things like any caption there is that you want to mention with that particular piece, or any art movement that you took inspiration from. So you're going to have some research about that. So when it comes to exploration, you can keep them in lighter colors, like black and white also you can keep them. When it comes to the main work though, there you should be putting all of your colors, you should be giving focus, maybe you want to give a background to present it in the best possible manner. And when you're doing a layout, be very wary of the margins, because you don't want the person to be looking at a haphazardly arrangement of text. And a lot of text is also going to distract the person. So do not have a lot of text on your project descriptions, or even when you're writing about that particular product. Maybe if you're labeling parts, that's perfect. If you're giving like a few features in bullet points, that is also good enough. But if you're writing paragraphs and paragraphs about this particular project that you've done, nobody's going to read through it. Come to the keywords, come to the key points, maybe like sort through the main lines and think about like how to shorten information, how to give it more impactfully. So this is about now just editing the portfolio rather than making a new one. So if you're making a new one, then what you're doing is whatever you have so far. You can put that in the best possible manner. So if you have artworks, then you can come up with a title for it. You can come up with a suitable reason why you made this particular art. Or you can talk about things like the kind of story that is behind it. So when you do that, you show them that you have an attitude towards this like mentality, and you are into the design process already. So you just want to continue with it when you come to the particular course in that particular college. So I think that's pretty much it that I wanted to talk about in this particular session. In the next session, we'll talk about this in more detail. So you're making an informative document for the first SOP part, and then you go into more personalized things when you write the introduction of yourself in the portfolio. So right now, if you want to get very, very personal in this piece, please refrain and hold that for the next step, which is the portfolios about me or introduction. Okay, so that is all my advice for now. If you have any questions, then you can shoot now. Guys?
Ma'am,
Do we get marks on SOP or portfolio or anything?
No, not at all.
ma'am,
Portfolio and interview, you'll get marks. SOP, it's not, but it'll define how they are looking at you. So it will change their, yeah, sort of. You get marks based on total of your portfolio and SOP and interview. So marks are there for mainly interview, and in that they'll judge your portfolio and SOP. It's like that. So it's not like someone is going to get marks for how good an essay they've written. They'll be getting marks for how relevant they think this particular person is going to be if they get admission in this course. So if they think so, based on your portfolio and an SOP, then they'll give you a certain amount of marks. Is that okay?
Yeah, okay.
And someone else was saying something else?
yes, ma'am, I was saying that I applied for 2 courses, out of which I am selected in photography design. So, like, I have some projects in photography. Just the doubt is that do I have to mention all the details of the photography, like lights, the aperture, the details of the photo, and everything, or what in the portfolio?
Are you aware of all of them?
Yes, mostly I'm aware of those because, like, while shooting, I like took down notes for all these things.
Well,
So,
are you familiar with them yourself? Like, you good with all of that?
like, I have studied all that, but I'm not very confident right now because it's like in my second, third year only, and I haven't practiced later on, like the light especially.
So the thing is, like, they might ask you questions related to it if you write it. That's the
Oh, so better I don't mention all of that now.
better you mention only the things you're confident about. Like,
Okay.
so, like, but if you write like only aperture and don't write the other two, it'll look weird, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So we can't do that. Maybe like mention more about the styling aspect of it, or like which part you worked on. So it's not
Uh-huh.
necessary that you cannot put any other project of any other kind also in it. Maybe one
Mm-hmm.
project from something else can also come in where you're showing like your skill or understanding of how the process of story building goes.
Okay.
Because photography is not just about the the technicalities, but it's also about understanding the moment and capturing it, or like making these moments and capturing it.
Yes, okay. Also, like just now what you said, is photography design like totally like just about photography, or will there be any other things also, like technical aspects? Like, do I have to mention these technical things also, or just the projects are fine?
Just the projects are fine. You don't have to mention the technical aspects if you're not well versed with them. Okay.
Okay.
So, anything else?
Yeah, so does the studio test happen only for people that like qualify this SOP and portfolio stuff, or does that take place regardless?
I think first you'll have the studio test and then you'll have this, right?
I don't know, so I'm asking.
Isn't it on the same day? Did they give the dates for studio test?
No, I was reading the circular that they released on the website. It just said studio test and SOP.
Then it has to be that way, I think. First you'll be going for your studio test and then you'll come for the SOP. Sorry,
This
then you
time
come for the
interviews are online and studio test is offline.
And what are the dates?
Dates are not still announced.
So if like this kind of an arrangement is there, then let me also look. Just a second. I have that document.
So does the studio test vary based on the branch we've taken, or is that?
No, it's the same. But oh yeah, for masters definitely. So
Yeah.
masters, yeah.
Mm.
It is based completely on the branch that you've taken. So if you've taken information design, they can ask you any question related from that particular trait. So like the traits from that particular design field. So they'll judge your skills based on that. So they'll ask you to make something related to that. For a UI UX design applicant, they'll give you something related to user interface or something to design, or maybe something to judge, like what your understanding of a person or their experiences is. So they might give you a product related to that. So depending on your stream in masters, they give you different kinds of tasks. Okay. But yeah, bachelors have a common one, which, sorry, my bad. Why am I sharing this? So I wanted to share the other document, which is for your I can't. Does anybody have that file?
Which one, ma'am?
That particular one in which NID mentioned the different things that they require.
Yes, ma'am. Maybe I
The
have.
SOP portfolio and the personal interview being online. That one.
Ma'am, I sent you that.
Thank you. So it's not mentioned anywhere, like if it'll be separately or it'll be together. But they've mentioned that the studio test will be conducted at the respective campuses of NID in the offline mode, while the interviews will be conducted over the online mode. That's not giving you exactly whether it's going to be after each other or together. But the suggested order is this only, that first there will be studio test and then there will be interview. So it's confusing. So if you're applying, I think you should prepare. Or you can call NID and I think ask. Has anybody tried that?
Not yet. I'll probably do that.
So try getting the problem solved from the root, right?
Mhm.
But it looks like you'll have the studio test first and then you go on with this, because like earlier also that has been the order. So first you go for the studio test, then you go for the interview.
But typically, when does the studio test happen?
Studio test, usually it should happen in the next month sometime.
May, okay.
Usually it happens like 1 month afterwards, like this stage, no? This time the result was also quite late. The M.Des result is not even announced, right? Right now. Only the M.Des result has been announced. So I just think next session we'll see your portfolios and we'll try to figure out what works for everybody, because portfolio, again, I mentioned it earlier, I'm mentioning it again, is going to be very, very individual. It's not going to be the same for everyone. The advice that I will be giving you would be relevant to you, depending on the kind of work you're showing and the kind of image you want them to have, because all of you are going into different courses. So you're not looking at the same kind of thing, correct?
Correct.
So just the first step though is going to be from your side. You're going to collect all the information that you think is relevant to put in the SOP as well as to put in your portfolio. Okay. And then when you've done that, I'll help you out, figure if you need one more project that you can do quickly if you have very less in it, or something from earlier only that you think is not perfect, you can maybe perfect that and put it in. So maybe something you started in a class but you didn't finish it. So maybe you can make it the initial sketch, you can make it as the starting, as in the research part or all the thinking brainstorming part. And then finally you can show the final product in maybe digital way or even like colored version, cleaned up version. So it depends on the kind of work you're showing though. So if you show me something, then I can tell you what to do. Okay. So just compile all of your stuff, guys, and I'll see you in the next session.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day.